Hey, what's up? Bob Deboo here for Open Studio. Thanks for watching. Today we're going to talk about Oleo, and it's a melody written by the great Sonny Rollins that was premiered on this Miles Davis album that you can see the cover to right here, Bag's Groove. So what is a contrafact? Contrafact is a new melody written over an old set of chord changes, and this is written over the chord changes for rhythm changes. I got rhythm, right? So what we're going to do today is we're going to look at Oleo, the melody, in a slightly different way, and we're going to really dig in to the rhythmic qualities and the rhythmic aspects of this great melody. There's a lot of syncopation here. There is some interesting, phrasing that's happening in here, and that's even before we get to the notes. So join me on this. We're going to practice in a few different ways with the metronome. We're going to start off just by counting and clapping some of these melodies, and you can do this on any instrument. Everything we're doing today can be done on any instrument except towards the back end of this video. We're going to put it on the bass, and I'll show you fingerings that I like for this melody. So first up, let's look at just the rhythm of the melody. And by saying this, I'm starting off just by saying the attacks of the rhythm. We're not even thinking about the note lengths or any articulation or anything like that. We're going to play just the rhythm in a fairly mundane way right now, but we want to really solidify it. Cool. So what I'm going to use is my metronome down here. I'm going to start it off at 160, and we're going to check out this rhythm. So clap this along with me now. Okay, here we go. This is all 4 beats at 160. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Ba ba da 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 ba da ba be da 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 be ba do ba da be da 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 do ba da be da ba da be ba do da da be da da. Okay, great. So that's not fast. This is 160 beats per minute. But we're going to start here just to really think about the details of the rhythm. So when you heard me counting and clapping just then, I was keeping it real monotone. No accents, well, maybe a couple accents in there, and singing, but just really trying to think about where the attacks lay in the beat in accordance with the metronome there. Okay, so before we add any other spice to this rhythm, let's dial back our metronome input. Okay, so it's at 160. I'm going to half that and put it at 80. And it sounds like this now. So it's the same tempo, except now let's call this beats 2 and 4 and count and clap that same rhythm. So I'm just singing whatever vocalizations I'm used to. You could use whatever you like. It doesn't really matter. We're just thinking about right now the attacks fitting right in the groove, okay? So try the same thing again. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Da 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 do ba be ba be da 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 be ba do ba da be be da 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 be da 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 do da do ba do ba be be da 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 do da do ba da be da do ba. Cool. Okay, so that's getting less information from the metronome, and that's going to help with our internal tempo, right, to really understand this rhythm and make sure that we're not rushing or dragging in certain places. A great way to check this is to keep halving that metronome input. So it was just at 80. We divide that in half. Let's put it at 40 now. So this is 40, but hear this as the same tempo that we've been doing all along. Okay? Now, when we start to get less information from the metronome, we could move around what beat we're calling this. We could call this 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Or you could call it beat 2, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Beat 3, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. But I find a more swinging way to get into it is to call it beat 4. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Right, that big emphasis on beat 4 that's really common in jazz. Okay, let's play this same rhythm now, just clapping and singing along with beat 4 here. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Ba da 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 ba be do 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 ba dee dee da ba da dee ba do da da dee da dee da dee da 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 dee da dee da 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 ba be do da do da da dee da 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 be ba do ba ba be ba 2, 3, 4. Right? So you want to try to be right in the middle of that beat. You can push and pull this once we get more comfortable, but I'm trying to stay right just in the middle of the tempo as best I can. So that is obviously with just us counting and clapping this rhythm and slowly getting less information from the metronome when we're actually going to dial that back even more later in the video. But before we do that, I want to introduce just putting this rhythm on a single note on whatever instrument you're dealing with. I'm going to choose a B flat on the G string right now, okay? And play that same rhythm with my metronome at 40. So try this with me. But one consideration now is that we want to think about the length of these notes, right? So you can see the way that it's written here. Ba, bo, long, short, short, long, short, 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 right? So you want to think about where there's actual like longer notes, and we're going to try to do that with the length of the notes on the instrument that you're using now. So don't just hit them like this. Da, ba, ba, da, ba, ba, da, 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 ba, ba, da, 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 da. Not looking for that. I want you to articulate it with the note length the way that it should be. So like this. Ba, ba, long, short, short, long. Da, 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 da. So if there's a rest right after an eighth note, cut it off. Okay? If it's a stream of eighth notes, you can kind of connect those a little bit more, but that's you could just always check out how I'm doing this too. Let's try it together. I'm going to bring the metronome back in. We're going to call it beat 4. Play the same rhythm without any articulations with the B flat on whatever instrument you're dealing with. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. B da 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 ba ba da do da ba do da da dee da 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 dee do da da dee dee da dee da 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 b da da ba da 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 dee da do ba ba do ba be do be da 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 do be ba do ba be dee ba do da. Okay, cool. How did that go? Feel all right? Now you're seeing on the screen, I've added in some accents to certain parts of the melody to try to help it swing a little bit more, or give it a little bit more life, right? Because we've been playing it all just monotone, the same dynamic level. And I need to make a point too that I haven't mentioned yet, is that you see there's a first ending and a second ending, right? We're really just talking about the A section of the melody, because the bridge is basically soloing. It's opened up for the bridge. Rhythm changes, 32 measures, A, A, B, A. The bridge is open for a soloist to play or for something creative to happen there. But the A section, the very first A section, has a slightly different eighth measure to it than the second A or the fourth A. So that's why we have the first and second ending. The second ending is considered the second A. The way that the rhythm is voiced in the first ending, that's the first A. So let's look at these accents now for our Oleo rhythm. Let's just clap them first, and then we'll put them on a single note on the instrument, okay? Going to keep it at 40. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Da bu ba da bu ba do bi da do do bi do ba do ba ba bi da bu bi da bi ba do ba da di bi ba bi ba do ba da do bi da bu bi do bi da bu bu bi do ba do ba ba bi da di ba do da. Okay, cool. So these are just accents that I'm hearing, that I'm feeling inside of just those rhythmic attacks. Let me know in the comments, do you hear different places? Do you like how these accents fit? Add in, let me know what you're thinking about with this. Now let's try it with going back to our single note on the instrument. So I'm going to play a B flat again and try to bring in these rhythmic accents that you're seeing on the screen, okay? Again, we're at 40 beats per minute. We're going to call this beat 4. Gonna find my B flat. All right, let's try it out. So really, when we're doing this too, make these accents dramatic. Okay, really bring them out. Don't kind of like subtly do it. We can always dial that back a little bit more with practice, but really try to make sure you're hitting where those accents are, okay? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, cool. So now our bass like rhythm for these A section melodies has a little bit more life in it. We've talked about the attacks, which is the rhythms that we see. We talked about the note lengths, which is how we've got like short, short, long, short, short, long, and different rhythmic or note length considerations. And now we've introduced some accents and gave that rhythm a little bit more life. If you could do this on drumming, you could do this clapping, you could do this on muted notes. If you really want to practice what's happening bass player wise too, especially with your right hand or with your pizzicato hand, that is. And then putting that on the single notes, then we don't have to think as much about the pitches. We really need to focus in on the rhythm, especially of a syncopated melody such as Oleo. So that's why we're doing all this rhythmic work before then. Okay, cool. So now we're going to use less information from the metronome to really work on our internal tempo and to really solidify and shed this rhythm of the melody, okay? So we're gonna keep the accents happening, we're gonna keep our note lengths because we're gonna play single note on your instrument. I'm gonna play a B flat, but we're dividing that 40 now into 20. So still thinking the tempo of 160, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, like that, but now we're going to get less information from the metronome and have to notice a little bit more starkly if we're rushing or dragging. Okay, so let's try this out. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, cool. So if playing the single note on the instrument is throwing you off or that's too crazy, get back to just counting and clapping it. Get back to singing it, right? And make sure you're getting in the cut. There's a few places where the metronome is going to line up just with our melody. Not at the beginning, but if you look at, say, the 5th bar or the 2nd line of what you're seeing on the screen here, that should line right up with the metronome when we hit that note, right? You could take that a step further, divide that in half to 10, right? And really check yourself. Let me try this out and see if it works. So it's the same tempo, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. B da 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 B da 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 B ba do ba da B B da 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 do ba 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 be do ba do ba be da 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 ba do ba ba be do ba 4 1. So I'm rushing just a little bit. I'm a hair ahead of where this is, and that's good to know. And I can work on just trying to dial it back and be a little bit more relaxed with this rhythm. I'm gonna try it with some single notes now and see how that goes. So here it comes. Nope, I don't have it. So I gotta find this again, where the metronome is, and a good way, or where the click is, and a good way to do that is just to go back. You can pull back up 160, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can do that, and then bring it back to 10, okay? 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So close, right? I'm still rushing just a hair, but at least I know that I am, right? And then I can practice that just on its own and see if I can make it swing. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Ba, 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 yeah, ba, 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 da, ba, da, ba, 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 da, ba, So again, we haven't played any of the melody of this. We've only played the rhythmic content, but really learning the rhythmic content of especially bebop melodies and getting this jazz rhythms, kind of in our lexicon, in our vocabulary, super important. And I think the best way to start that is to get away from thinking about notes. So don't play those pitches. If you're working on other bebop melodies, Blues for Alice, I don't know, Donna Lee, any Bird stuff, really check out the rhythmic content of those melodies before you start putting in the notes, right? So just a disclaimer before we get into it, measure 4, okay, is slightly different than you're going to see it and sometimes hear it. A lot of times people coming from the real book or even the more reputable real book situations or whatever, the Chuck Scherrer real book, which everybody kind of thinks is a bit better, there's a pretty glaring mistake in there, and that is with measure 4. Okay, we'll see this in the context of the melody, but let's just look at this. This is the way the melody of measure 4 is written in the real book in a most common fashion. Right? So we've got this B flat, G, A flat, A, which is getting to the third of F7, anticipating this chord happening. Whereas I hear Sonny Rollins in multiple recordings, Keith Jarrett, the list goes on and on. I actually hear them saying this. The goal is still from that B flat to this A, but it's how they're getting there. And even those small details like that I think is really important. I'm not saying that you always need to play one way or the other, but I think it's a great idea to be aware that both ways of saying it exist. And there's other ornamentations that happen here too. But I'm saying if you're aware that somebody might play it this way or this way, then you know what to do when you're playing with somebody else and perhaps they're saying it that way. If you're the only one playing the melody, you can say it however you like. But if we're as bass players playing it with the trumpet, say, or the piano, you want to be aware that it could happen different ways. Anyways, it's enough about that, all right? Let's look at the notes of Oleo now. So it's the same rhythm, same rhythmic content, right? But now we're putting pitches with it. And you'll note that almost everything is in B flat major, except for the second A each time. The second A and the fourth A, that last measure, has kind of a blues connotation, right? Bring my metronome back up. Let's put it at 40. Okay, so we'll put it at 40 here. Still not too fast, and if you need to pause this, slow it down, whatever, please do. We want to make sure we're getting the notes as accurate as possible too, of course. But now just play it real monotone like we were doing our rhythmic content first. So no accents just to get started. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we want to make sure we've got that together without any accents. We're playing the right pitches. Again, measure 4. And you might notice, if you're a bass player watching this, you might notice where I'm putting my melody. A lot of times you'll see cats play it down here. And you totally can. You can do a lot. You can actually do most of this melody on just the G string, utilizing the open G string and some bigger shifts. But I'm thinking about putting it here and not shifting around as much as possible. So I'm playing the B flat that's on the D string, shifting down just by that half step to get G and C. So it's a little bit more shifting that way than doing this. But that's up to you. However you want to say this, where you think it sounds the best too is really what's up. Now let's go through and put in those accents that we practiced rhythmically and put those into our Oleo melody to give it a little bit more life, okay? Again, here's 40. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's try this melody one more time, but I'm going to use the metronome with less information and see how it feels. So I'm going to dip it back down to 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, if you were to look at bar 4, you know, where there's that difference, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You might hear it this way. And that's okay. That's a really common way that it gets played. Don't hate on it. It's taken on a life of its own, right? It's definitely, I think it came from the real book, and then people were reading that and learned the melody that way. It's totally fine too. It may come up that way. All right. So again, this is Bob Deboo here for Open Studio. Thanks for shedding Oleo with me and really digging into the rhythmic aspects of it. It's been a lot of fun. Please let me know in the comments any ideas for future videos, any suggestions. Again, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe Open Studio's channel. Check out all their great videos, and happy practicing. Peace.